Thank you for coming here. As you can see on the display tables around us, it's Domestic Violence Month, so we're getting the message out. It's all about education, and it's getting to let people know what's going on in the great work that we do here in Albany County, crime victims, but all different organizations to get the message out. You know, our Crime Victim Sexual Violence Center is open every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Think about that. Providing counseling to rape victims on our hotline. Last year alone, they handled over 28,000 calls. Think about that. That's staggering. We have a county of 304,000 residents, 248, but who's counting, right? And it's just not Albany County we receive phone calls from. It's from the capital region. And I think it's important that we want to protect our people here in Albany County, but it's about everybody. And we want to make sure that someone has that safety net to fall back on, which also includes more than 7,500 contracts to provide information and referrals. To me, that's pretty impressive if you think about the whole scenario. I cannot say enough about the staff here in Albany County, the dedication they have. You know, I can show you their pay stubs. They don't do it for the paycheck. They do it because they believe in what they're doing. They're smiling. See, I knew I could put a smile on. It only took 22 months, but it worked. I can tell you, they do it because they're dedicated. They really believe in what they're doing. And that means a lot when you're either answering a phone or you're dealing with a victim. You know, to have someone that really has that compassion and care on the end of a phone or face-to-face. Because you know when you go to talk to somebody, you can hear the tone in the voice, whether they're not just shugging you off, just going through the protocols. And I can assure you, here in the county, they really do a professional job. And Karen Ziegler, I can't thank you enough for that, for your leadership in that department and getting the message out, so thank you. But it's about partnerships. And I've been saying this since being county executive. It's partnering with agencies within the county, with nonprofits on the outside, and that helps get our message out. But the center's planning special events this month to educate the public and help victims receive the comforts and services that they need. Our special events happening on November 8th when we launch a white ribbon campaign with Sienna and UAlbany. The entire day will be devoted to affirming to our community that we're putting out there domestic violence and prevention. So I want everyone to remember November 8th. Put it on your calendar. It's important that we all come together to offer support and our voice. And as I mentioned this, since David Soros has taken office since '05, his office has really been on the front of a lot of this. Here's a guy that I've watched since '05, since he's been district attorney, that's been very passionate, not just about the youth in this county, but about crime victims. My partnership with Sheriff Apple and the district attorney to really promote all the programs that we're doing, again, you have to believe in what you're doing, but you have to want to come together and say, well, yeah, that's my office, or that's our money. And the three of us have really sat down over the last 22 months and kind of pulled things together because times are tough. Obviously, the federal government shut down. They had the sequester going on. Funding's getting tougher, 2% property tax cap that everyone wants. But we still have these services that we have to provide. So my partnership with the district attorney in them areas have been fantastic because he's taken off since '05, but we've really kind of got together and saying, what more can we do? What more can we do to get the message out there? And how can the three of us collectively work together with the four of us and Karen Ziegler, who leads the charge? Because I tell you, she has a nice smile, but she has a big hammer. But it's my privilege to bring up Dave Rossi right now to talk about the district attorney.
Thanks, everybody. I am not David Soros. I never thought it would go that far. Those are the words that we so often hear when we speak to victims of domestic violence. And those are the same words that we hear when we sit down with the family members of victims of domestic violence homicides. I never thought it would go that far. Those are the words that we hear from the neighbors, from the coworkers, from all the other witnesses we speak to when we're investigating a crime of domestic violence. I never thought it would go that far. You know, those of us in the law enforcement community, and many of us here, we dedicate countless hours to coming up with ways of combating domestic violence. We go to meetings after meetings. We all know this in this room. And we do a lot. We have a dedicated domestic violence court in the city of Albany. We have tremendous victim service providers throughout the county. In the district attorney's office, we have more people dedicated to combating domestic violence than we've ever had in the history of the county. And we're making great strides. But we can never have the impact that we want to have if we don't have the help of the community. Domestic violence is not a private problem that affects only those behind closed doors. Domestic violence is a cancer to a community. It starts with the perpetrator, it spreads to the victim, to the children, to the neighborhoods, to the schools, to the family, and to the entire community. Domestic violence is everybody's problem. And that's why we dedicate this month to trying to bring awareness to domestic violence. We wear ties, even if they clash with our shirts. We wear purple, and we try to spread the word. And we want people to say something if they see something or hear something. Pick up the phone, call law enforcement, call the DA's office, call the county, call these various organizations. So often our efforts are hampered by the reluctance of victims who feel so alone and so without support, whether it's emotional support, financial support, they feel alone. And it's vital to our success that we reach out and tell the community and tell victims of domestic violence that they are not alone. They can reach out to us. This community is overflowing with people who want to help. This community is overflowing with victim service organizations that help every day. They are out there. All we need is for the community to help us. So, whether you're the victim of domestic violence or you're a witness to domestic violence, or you just suspect domestic violence is going on in your community, it's important that you pick up the phone and you make a phone call. And you report what you see. Don't just close your door and think it's somebody else's problem, because it's the cancer that's coming for your community. We're here for you, so please reach out. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amanda from Crime Victim Sexual Violence Center, who works closely with the victims and probably has a few stories to share with us. Amanda?
Good afternoon. I'm here today to speak to you not only as a professional dedicated to this fight, but as a human being who has witnessed on a daily basis the devastation that domestic violence brings. I am not here to tell you that I know all there is to know about domestic violence or that it doesn't surprise me. Domestic violence is not a sphere separate unto itself. Its reach finds its way into every aspect of a victim's life. The ripples of this rock dropped into the life of a victim continues outward into relationships with friends and family, to their neighbors and community. It shows itself at places of employment, and to any professionals of any field that come into contact with this victim. The effort to bring awareness and fight this global issue must be as expansive as the lives of victims. The battlegrounds of domestic violence are far-reaching and as varied as are the lives of these individuals. The fight to leave an abusive partner behind rages in courtrooms, in the offices of Child Protective Services, in health clinics, over social media, and with those they once called friends and family. Those in the midst of a domestic violence relationship will often find themselves not only dealing with physical and emotional abuse, but also struggling to maintain control over every aspect of their lives. The abuser may attempt to jeopardize the victim's ability to work, thereby forcing the victim's continued acquiescence to their demands and dependence upon them. The internet and social media can become public forums used to disparage, threaten, and embarrass. Tactics may also include using preventative services such as CPS or protective ones such as family and criminal courts to further harass their victims. Often when I'm speaking to victims, I'm reminded of a rephrasing of a quote by Charles Baudelaire. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. I'm reminded of this quote because I often hear that victims are told by members of their own social groups they could never see the abuser doing these things. The face that they show at the beginning of a relationship and with those outside is a person who is kind and caring, who does not get angry or throw their weight around. The face that they show behind closed doors is one of an oppressor, of a person who can flip their mood at a moment's notice so the victim is always on high alert. To this end, the victim often feels they cannot rely on those around them to provide the support they need to end the cycle of violence. The reality is that many times they lose the support of those they once called friends and family when they take steps to leave their abusive partner behind. Bruises and broken bones are often the first things that come to mind when someone says domestic violence. The truth of the matter is these are not the worst things that can happen to a victim. Physical injuries heal, they fade into memory. What doesn't fade are the psychological scars that are produced by prolonged torment and emotional beatings that the victims are subjected to. Words can do far more damage than we know. Those in the midst of a domestic violence relationship spend countless amounts of time being told that they are not good enough, being slowly and methodically convinced that they are in fact to blame for the violence. They are told time and time again that they will never be wanted by anyone else, and then accused of cheating. They live under a constant veil of threats of harm or death should they attempt to leave. And those threats are not contained to themselves, but are also directed to those that they love. Victims live in fear not only for themselves, but also for the lives of those that are in their lives. For these and many other reasons, leaving is not a simple matter. It is not a matter of packing a bag and walking out the door. Victims of domestic violence face countless obstacles trying to leave, not the least of which is the fact that the abuser will not let them go. They are often dependent on their abuser financially. They are tied by the bonds of parenthood and the invisible chains of self-doubt that the abuser has forged within their victims. Even when they do manage to leave, the abuser will often continue to stalk and harass them because the abuser cannot face losing control over their lives. Agencies such as Albany County Crime Victim and Sexual Violence Center, the Albany Police Domestic Violence Unit, Equinox, In Our Own Voices, and the Legal Project, to name but a few, are dedicated to the support and well-being of these victims. However, it is not enough. Any provider of services can be the first point of contact for a victim of domestic violence. Healthcare providers such as emergency room staff, dentists, and gynecologists often see victims before any other agency. Employees at salons often know their clients very well and can notice changes to the client's appearance or personality. Leaders of faith communities are often sought out by their parishioners as mediators. School teachers may see children who are nervous to go home or express concern for one of their parents. All of these people and many more are potential vital links for victims of domestic violence. Joining the fight is not about being an expert. It's about being aware of this issue and knowing where to find help. Helping a victim to become a survivor can start with something as simple as acknowledging what you are seeing and offering support, not judgment. It is vital not to place your views or opinions on those seeking help. Anyone can be a victim of domestic violence. It does not discriminate by age, gender, race, or social status. It is a crime that takes a different form with each individual. There is no cookie-cutter victim, nor should there be in our response to it. We cannot say this can't happen here, this can't happen to you or me. We can't pretend this does not touch us all. Thank you.
I'm glad that you brought up Equinox and the Legal Project because I've learned a lot about domestic violence going back to the first time I started having meetings when I was in the legislature when we started the Domestic Violence Court. And Lisa and Kathy, you've really been a huge advocate, not just for Albany County, but the Capital Region. And I personally want to thank the two of you. Keep up the continued good work and advocacy for the victims. And then, you know, unfortunately, we have to have these things every month. I wish we didn't have to. I wish we didn't have to educate the public. I wish this stuff didn't happen. I wish we could break the chain, and that's what it's about, breaking the chain, so the next generation doesn't think it's okay to sexually assault somebody, or to be verbal, or to be violence towards other people in relationships or families. It happens, you know. I want to say to everyone in Albany County, there's a place for you. We want to be your crutch. If you need help, call our hotline. Think of all the great services we can provide to you and your family, and that's what it's about. And talking about that, I do want to bring up Karen Ziegler. Can you come up here, please, before I leave? And I want to give you this proclamation because Karen it's you know, following her when I was in the legislature and now is in the county executive's office. Karen's been, one of them, I don't want to say silent advocates, because she smiles a lot and says hello, but she really pushes her programs, and she lets people know what's important to her, especially during budget time. We're trying to crunch, and she's like, yeah, that's nice, but this is what we need. And I'm like, yeah, but we got this stuff going on, we got to cut. Yeah, but this is I hear you, you know, that silent, yeah, I hear you, but I'm going to ignore you, and I'm going to continue to push these programs. And Karen, you know, just, you know, you do inspire me to what you do in that office, and especially getting the word out and about breaking the cycle and just being that that mentor people can look up to. So I do have a whole proclamation here for you. I'm not going to bore everyone, but it's for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Dan. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you all so much for coming. I want to thank Bridget and Kathy from Beyond Style for doing hair extensions today. They're amazing, amazing business in the neighborhood, and they support the work that we do and the work that all of us do in Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So thank you to Bridget and Kathy. I couldn't be blessed with a better staff and with more wonderful partners than the county executive, the DA, and the sheriff. As has been said before me, this isn't work that any individual can do. We're so fortunate in Albany County to have their support, to be such wonderful and committed partners. We're lucky to have such rich resources in our community with Inner Own Voices and Equinox and Legal Project. And we have the Albany County Bar Association. This May 1st is going to be their 20th anniversary run against domestic violence. So there are so much wonderful, wonderful support in our county. With the county executive support, we're doing today's event. We have the White Ribbon Campaign on November 8th, and we also are launching in December our Be the Difference campaign. That's an Albany County initiative where we're going to take an individual from every single department in Albany County, and we're going to train them on how to be an engaged bystander. So our county executive, along with the DA and the sheriff, are the foundation of our Be the Difference, and we want to be the difference with all of our partners, with all of the community, and we want to take a stand and not allow violence in any form to exist silently and stealthily and be that cancer in our communities. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for being a part of the day.